Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuhu, and welcome everybody to our talk by Mr. FEROZE ARIF Saab on strategies for goal settings today. Um, Now I'll invite Razak Bhai, who is the head of our projects, to introduce AMP and its activities to everyone.
Jazakallah. Thank you, Khalil, Professor Khalil, for giving me this opportunity. I'll just run through what AMP is all about and what AMP has done in last 13-year time. AMP, the name stands for Association of Muslim Professionals. It was started off in the year 2007. In last 13-year journey, it has grown from India. Currently, it is registered in 4 countries: India, USA, UK, and Australia. AMP started with a vision from day one for serving the community in 3 fields: education, employment, and community empowerment. So these were the 3 pillars on which AMP was formed. AMP vision to positively impact the life of 10 million Indian Muslims by 2030. AMP vision to look forward for community development and make them advance in education, socially progressive, culturally vibrant, politically influential, economically dynamic. So we become a model community when people look at us. Some of the achievement of AMP in last 13-year journey, what AMP has achieved through its projects, various projects that the AMP runs. The first project, which was the pillar of AMP when AMP started off 13 years back, was how to impact the life of students in school. So the first project is school development project. Over there, AMP has done more than 2,800 sessions for school students on how to do career planning, how to do different plans on how to develop themselves in terms of validation that can be imparted to school students. We have connected more than 800 schools. We have helped more than 281,000 students through this program. The second important project started by AMP was in field of employment, because major of the members of AMP have come from corporate world. So we thought, how can we help through our connection to help our community in terms of employment. AMP has done more than 360 job fairs and job drives. AMP has helped in the journey of last 13 years 21,000 plus students to get placement into corporate world. So this has been a very big role played by AMP in getting people into the corporate world. Second, AMP has done very important role of training those people who come for interviews. So we run a project called employment training program, which is primarily meant for the final year student to get them prepared for setting for an interview. AMP has helped more than 17,000 degree students through various their project in terms of employment assistance. AMP also runs a scholarship. There are 2 platforms for that. AMP Scholarship Fund, which AMP Zakat Fund, which helps students for scholarship. Second, AMP also have indiazakat.com, which helps students in terms of fundraising for scholarship work, through which AMP has helped more than 800 students over there. 860 orphan has been helped for their primary education, schooling education. 425 families has been helped for setting up small scale businesses. So this is a transformation for a family from a zakat taker to zakat giver. That is the role AMP has played over here. AMP Resource Center, we have built in a platform of networking large number of professionals to come together, and currently on our website there are more than 660 career counselor professionals who have devoted their name, number and time at what time they can help students online through phone calls and emails. We have helped more than 2,500 students for this, and we have distributed career charts across 1,500 schools across India. Uh, the last project of AMP is AMP Award and Partnership. How to help our teachers who are the pillars of schools. What we have AMP has started is 5 years back, AMP introduced a project called Excellence in Education Award. We are identifying the best teachers in the community who have moved up from their routine job to doing something extra to the school or to the community. And we have started recognizing them by giving national awards. We have covered more than 380 teachers for that. We have done partnership with skill training program, which is Skill India project of India. So we have done partnership with 50 corporate players in that field, so we can help our less educated students who are not able to crossover from school to college, but they can move into a skill world through Government of India Skill India project. So that is what we have done. We have tied up with more than 100 NGOs across India so that all these well-doing projects can be taken forward to the really needy peoples. When the pandemic hit us hard, AMP thought, why not do something which will help the community and which will transform the community? Everything was moving from offline to online. So AMP took three key initiatives for online work. Number one was AMP launched a platform called indiazakat.com. The challenge was everything was going online. There were people who needed money and there were people who wanted to donate money, right? So how can we help them? So we built a platform called indiazakat.com. Alhamdulillah, it has gone a very good journey. In last 15-month time, it has helped more than 1,500 people. It is got more than 12,000 donor in that platform, and it has raised more than 5 crore rupees to help the needy people. So that is the first project that AMP launched after the pandemic hit us hard. The second project that we learned was the indiamentors.com. Very important thing is there are students who are currently into schools and colleges, primarily are either the first learner or the second learner in the school or colleges. Either they are the first people to enter school and college, or they are the second league or second level of people. Their parents have done some schooling and they've just entered that. So they lack mentorship, which is nobody in the family will actually mentor them up what they should do going forward after college and how should they plan their career. We have launched a platform called the indiamentors.com. Over there, we have got more than 1,000 mentors registered over there. These mentors are primarily professionals who have spent more than 10 years in corporate world. So these guys are going to mentor the mentees, the students, which will be getting registered over here. This mentors will mentee will share a relationship for 3 months span where the mentor will guide them what is to be done in the college life, what is to be done post college life, and how to make a successful career. The last project that AMP launched was AMPempowerjobs.com. Idea was there were people who were losing jobs and there were corporate who were looking for jobs, who were looking for candidates. How to make this connection? Even during the pandemic time, there were a lot of corporate who wanted work from home employees, who wanted various employees who can work online. So why not we do something, a platform where we can help our people, our youth to get placement into those companies. So we launched this platform. Alhamdulillah, since the launch time, we launched this in October 2020. Since till date, we have been helping more than 150 candidates every month. So people sitting at their home are applying it and they're getting job and currently working from their home. So this is a very good initiative that AMP has done during the pandemic time. Now about AMP reach, currently AMP is present in more than 26 states in India and 16 countries globally. We have got more than 140 chapters. That means we are present in more than 140 cities in India. We have got more than 6,000 active member. Active member participation is they are part of at least one project of AMP. So that is active participation. We have got more than 125,000 online presence member who are part of AMP online team through Gmail groups or through Facebook or through LinkedIn connection of AMP. Last page, if somebody want to join AMP, what is the process? We have everything present online. AMP doesn't have physical presence anywhere. Everything is digitally present. So we have our website ampindia.org/join AMP, through which you can connect to the AMP and join us and be part of our project. So this is the journey of AMP for last 13 years. Thank you. Back to you, Khalil Bhai.
Jazakallah khair, Razak Bhai, for that elaborate introduction of AMP. If anybody wants to get more information, I have shared the web link in the chat. You can copy it and later look through the website. Let's now, before the speaker, before I present the speaker, let me introduce him. Mr. Feroze Arif is the Director of Analytics and Innovation at Aritas. His education was at the University of Kerala, and then started a long and distinguished career from my hometown of Chennai, and he currently is in Florida, USA. He is a technically qualified senior manager who has more than 3 decades of experience across various geographies. He has experience in innovation, product development, and project management. He is an expert in the data migration into SAP ERP, master data management and data governance. He has deep knowledge of PM and QM data structures in SAP, and he has done data migration and data quality projects spanning across several countries from Australia through Singapore, Saudi Arabia, India, and Canada. It's a long and distinguished career. He is a member of AMP USA, and he has already done several talks for us, so we don't really need to introduce him too much. And he is also um, been with us for a long time, and he is today going to talk to you about strategies for setting goals. So since you are here to listen to him and not me, I present before you the speaker, Feroz Arif. Feroz Arif Saab, you can take over.
Thank you, Khalil Saab. Thank you very much for that very nice introduction. Um, well, I'm still a student. I'm still learning. And I hope to share some useful information today with you. So, without further ado, shall I just start sharing my screen and begin? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I pray to Allah to guide my mind and my tongue so that I may share information that is useful to you all. I've done a webinar about a year ago, and that too, it was in the middle of the same pandemic. It's still not over. It's still continuing. We have had multiple waves. We now have the Delta variant and different things. And as the folks at the AMP, they are doing various things. Let us also, as individuals, be compassionate, caring, and kind. Many people are suffering, and let's be helpful and help them by doing whatever we can. There might be something which is very small or any this thing. It doesn't matter the size of what you're able to do. The magnitude of what you're able to do does not matter, as long as you do something. Even at the least, even thinking that you should be helpful is something which you should be doing. And at this juncture, I'd like to thank our brothers and sisters of AMP for giving me the opportunity to share some of this information with you about goals, setting goals, and how we can, pursue them. Uh, it's easy to write a check or transfer some money to an organization, and thereby think that you have fulfilled your duties, in terms of charity or in terms of helping the community. But it takes a lot of time and energy to ensure that that money or any resources, they are put to good use and they go into the right hands, and that they are spent in the best possible manner. That definitely is not an easy task. And may Allah's blessings be upon the brothers and sisters of AMP for the wonderful work that they are doing. May Allah reward you in this life as well as the hereafter for all this. So now let's get into the topic of today's presentation or webinar. This is about strategies for setting and pursuing your goals. Why are we talking about goals? Because goals are, very intimately tied with success. When we look at different successful people, they have always set goals for themselves, and they have achieved different goals as they pass through life. And so consequently, to become a successful person, you should be able to set proper goals for yourself, and you should be able to achieve those goals. Okay. So uh, now, before I jump into it, again, I think I was actually planning to give a little introduction to myself, but I think Khalil Bhai has already given you an introduction. And anyway, I am passionate about data, and I'm passionate about self-improvement as well. I read a lot of different books. And in fact, today's book is going to be based on one of the books that today's talk is going to be based on one of the books that I've read. And I will share, details of that with you in a moment. there is a lot of different kind of books which are available these days, and many of these books are based in scientific uh, research, inquiry, that sort of thing. They come out of research in different areas of psychology, human behavior, economics, and these professors, instead of just publishing their work in different scientific journals, they have brought them out as books. And these books are written in a form where lay people like us can read them and benefit from years and years of research. So this particular book, that I will actually be talking about how to set a goal and how we can increase the probability of achieving that goal. Okay, and a little bit about what I am not going to cover. Okay, what goals you set, what are the goals that you should be setting. This is something which I will not be talking about. Once you've set your goals, and how, what are the parameters around setting the goal and how do you achieve that goal, that's what we will talk about. There is a very interesting book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I don't know how many of you have heard of this, but in that book, there is the second habit. And the second habit basically states that begin with the end in mind. And in that chapter on begin with the end in mind, the author, Stephen Covey, he asks you to imagine your funeral. He asks you to imagine that you are, you're there, you're dead, and you have your, close relatives there at your funeral. You have your friends there. You have people, your colleagues, people who worked with you, they are there. And then the people from the community are all there. And then he asks you to think about what you would want each of these people, each set of these people to think about you and to say about you. Let's say if each of these groups, there is a representative, your son, your daughter, or somebody comes up and they are going to talk about you. What would you like them to speak about? What would you like to be remembered for by these different sets of people? What would you like your friends to remember you for? What would you like your colleagues to think about you? What characteristics should they be talking about? Or what goals of yours which you achieved they should be talking about? Or what should the community be speaking about? So when you think in these terms, that will help you kind of identify the kind of goals that you think are worth living for and worth working towards, right? So that is a pretty interesting chapter, and that will kind of help you um, crystallize some ideas around what should be your goals. And also in that book they talk about the different roles that you play in your life, and then for each of those roles you could be setting a goal. For instance, like I am working for a particular organization, I'm an employee, I have siblings, so I am a brother, I'm a brother, and then of course I have children, so I am a father, I am a husband, I am a son. So in each of these different roles, there will be certain goals and things like that which I want to achieve. And so I would, there is a process in which you can go, you can look at all these different roles, identify what are the goals that you want to set for yourself. And then, of course, how you set the goals, how you formulate the goals, that's what this particular session is going to be all about. Okay. And like I mentioned, all this information is actually coming from this book, which is called 9 Things Successful People Do Differently. And it is written by this professor, Dr. Heidi Grant Halvorsen. And here is a brief bio of Dr. Grant. She is a social psychologist who researches and writes and speaks about science of leadership and motivation. She's a part of the Thinkers 50's most influential management thinkers. And she is currently the director of research and development for EY Americas. Okay, so she's a very well-respected person. This is a very small book actually, and it's also, to me, I found it to be very practical. So it's not like advice which is up there, up in the air, but it's something which you can practice and you can apply on a day-to-day basis. Okay. So there are these 9 different things that you can do. And I thought that, instead of just jumping directly into those 9 things, I should give you a certain context, right, as to where these 9 different, strategies or things will fit into your journey of achieving a particular goal. So when you look at, achieving a goal, your journey would begin with setting the goal, right? You set a certain goal, and then, of course, once you set a goal, you need to plan, right? So, you remember the old adage which says that, uh, failing to plan is planning to fail, right? So if you don't plan, then you will kind of definitely fail. So you need to put together a plan, and of course it has to be a realistic plan. Then you need to execute that plan, and to be able to execute that plan, you need to find the time to be able to execute the different tasks which are a part of that plan, and you need to find the motivation to do those tasks, right? Then, of course, when you execute the plan, you have to monitor and see at the appropriate time to see if you have achieved your results. And if you have not achieved your results, then you need to actually make adjustment to ensure that you are back on track and you are moving towards your particular goal. And finally, all these different activities will actually lead to you achieving your goal. So keep this framework sort of in your mind, okay? And the 9 different strategies that we will talk about, right, which are listed out here, fit into each one of those different parts of your journey, right? Some of this will be like, if you're talking about the beginning of your journey, you get specific about your goals, right? So how you set your goal depends, I mean, your whether you achieve your goal also depends on how you set your goals and what exactly is your goal, right? So this is to do with the beginning part of your journey. Then we talked about finding the time to execute on your plan. So seizing the moment to act then is to do with that particular part. Then knowing exactly how far you have to go, this is to do with how you monitor and track your progress. Then we have a bunch of other strategies which are more to do with the mindset that you have, which you will and the motivations that you need to be able to achieve your goal. So these are like, be a realistic optimist, focus on getting better rather than being good, have grit, build your willpower muscle. Willpower is, whenever anybody talks about goals or achieving anything, most of the discussion is around willpower, right? So hopefully I'll give you some information about willpower. Many of us think that willpower is, either you have it or you don't, or it's like, it's a, you're born with willpower or you don't have it. But that is not the case. So research has shown that it's not the case. And willpower definitely is important, but it is, you can work on it, you can improve it, and that's what we will talk about shortly. And finally, we have things like don't tempt fate. This is about the environment within which you are, trying to achieve your goals. How do you control that, right? And then focusing on what you will do and not on what you won't do. So this is also another way in which you can, when you're thinking about achieving a certain goal, what is the way in which you can ensure success? There is something which you can learn from that particular part. So these are the different 9 strategies that we will be covering. And we will be having, and as we go along, there will be different polls, and maybe now is the time for the first poll. We can just, if you're ready to go with that, let's just pop it up. And the goals, I mean, the polls is basically, I'm just trying to get some interaction with you, and also we would talk about, we'll use the polls also to kind of refresh whatever we have spoken about in a particular section. Okay. All right. So, well, the webinar rating, we are starting with that even before the webinar is done. I think we should hold off until later. Okay. So there was I think the first question that, we wanted was about, what people think about success, right? So what do you think success depends upon? Yes, this is the thing? Is it luck? Is it a God-given talent? Does it depend on that? Is it being born into the right circumstances, or is it like skills that can be learned? Okay, so. Oh, well, looks like a lot of people think that, success is a skill that can be learned. So you already know the secret to success. And hopefully some of those skills you will learn in today's webcast. Okay. All right. So moving on, let's get to the next. So to begin with, the first strategy that you can apply is you need to get specific about your goals. Okay. So, how do we get specific about our goals? Right. Um, so let's say I want to lose weight. Okay, that is a goal, right? But is that specific? Will you be able to achieve it? Do you know when you have achieved it? Will you know that you have reached this particular goal? uh, a goal such as, okay, I want to lose weight is not specific. It does not have any there is no way to know whether you will be able to reach it or not. And even the goal itself is not going to be motivating. But let's say if you set up a goal which says, okay, I will lose 15 kilos of weight, or I will lose 5 kilos of weight, right? So that is a very specific goal, and you know that when you have achieved it, you will be able to say that, okay, I have achieved this particular goal. And when you set a goal such as, okay, I need to lose 5 kilos of weight, then you will say, okay, how much do I weigh now? And okay, so then now I need to lose 5 kilos from this. So then what do I need to do? Maybe I need to monitor my diet. Maybe I need to exercise. I need to ensure that the number of calories that I'm taking in is less than the number of calories that I will expend through exercise and things like that. So a specific goal allows you to identify the different tasks that you need to do. Okay, so that is why you are asked to set a very specific goal, and it also motivates you to take certain specific actions. Now, in this particular area, there is also one more tactic that you can apply. Okay, so there is this particular thing called mental contrasting. Okay, and when you talk about mental contrasting, what you do is, like, you think about first you think about the goal that you want to achieve, and then you think about how it would feel when you have achieved this particular goal, all the nice things. Like, let's say, okay, you think that you want to complete some particular course or something like that, and at the end of the course, let's say you will be able to get a job that is going to be very high paying or something. So imagine what it would be like to complete that course and get that job, and or be able to enjoy all that you get from completing that particular task. So once you've thought about that, then think about all the other things that need the obstacles, or things that would prevent you from getting completing that course, or like, think about, okay, all the different people who will be applying for that particular job, and what will be the competition that you will have, and how what are the different activities that you need to do to be able to get the right number of get a good score in your course. So when you start thinking in those terms, then that would kind of motivate you to start taking action, right? So the minute you think about, on one side you think about the benefits of achieving that goal, and on the other side you think about the obstacles. So that is kind of like you're setting up the opposite of the benefits. You're trying to know, like, what are all the different activities that need to be done, and that will motivate you to carry out those activities. And that is what will let you achieve the goal. Just setting a goal is not sufficient, but you need to be able to take actions, and you need to be able to motivate yourself to act. And that is where this particular concept of mental contrasting uh, will work. And when you do this mental contrasting, it leads to something which is called the necessity to act. Okay, and that is a state which is critical for you to achieve your goal. because it will set all the psychological wheels in motion, which will allow you to achieve your goal. All right. So, just simply daydreaming about a particular goal is not going to, make you achieve that goal. Action is what will lead to you achieving your goals. Okay. So, now how do you implement this? Now, okay, when the way I have structured this this slide deck and this webcast is, we will talk about each of these different 9 strategies. So there will be one slide about the particular strategy. I'll try and explain some information about it, give some examples and about why that particular strategy works, or how that strategy works. And then there will be another slide about how you can implement that particular strategy. Like I said, this is pretty practical, right? So whatever you're picking up, you should be able to apply it, directly. You should be able to practically apply it. So now in this slide, we will see how we can implement this particular strategy of getting specific about your goals. So step 1 is to think of a goal that you would like to achieve. Write it down. Writing the goal down is a very important and key aspect. I'm sure you've read about a lot of different, I'm sure this is highlighted by a lot of different people who talk about achieving goals and success. You have to write it down. You have to, that kind of builds a certain commitment. Okay. Then once you've written down the goal, ask yourself how you will know that you've achieved the goal. Try, what are the specific aspects of that goal? Again, going back to the example, I want to lose weight. That is the goal. But when it gets specific, I want to lose 5 kilos. One more thing is that don't set a goal like, say achieving 5 kilos. 5 kilos may not be, a huge amount that you want to lose. And if you set your goal to be 5 kilos, you might achieve it, but that may not be what will really create an impact. You have to set a goal which is a little bit more difficult to achieve, right? Something which is easy to achieve is not really going to motivate you as well. There is something which is called a flow state, where you are in a perfect working state, where everything that you're doing is working out fine, and you are able to complete your tasks on time, and you derive a lot of pleasure from the task. When you get into that flow state, you don't get into a flow state when you're doing some dull mundane task. It has to be a task that is at least slightly challenging. It has to be a task which pushes you to your limits, but within your limits. So that way, when you set your goal, don't set unachievable goals, but at the same time, don't make it too easy for yourself. All right. So now in the light of step 2, which is about specifics, rewrite your goal. Rewrite your goal to be very specific. And then think about how you would feel when you would achieve the goal. Then think about the obstacles you will have in achieving the goal. Then write a few sentences about each benefit that you wrote earlier, and also write a few sentences about the obstacle that you noted in the earlier step. So this actually will then motivate you to take action, right? So what is the next thing? So next thing is to take action. Now, Woody Allen, I don't know if you've heard of him. Woody Allen said that 90% of success is showing up. All right. So if you set a goal that I want to lose, 5 kilos, then you have to show up at the gym every day, at a certain point in time, right? And you have to do your workout or whatever, right? So you have to act to reach your goals. Many of us set different goals, then we start doing work. I mean, it happens to me too. Like, I've set myself a goal of learning the Go programming language. All right. So I've even bought the book. I know all the websites, everything, but I haven't actually found the time to sit and work on it. Okay. Again, that is my fault, right? Because I have not found the time to, or planned that particular goal in such a manner that I will achieve it. So if I really want to do this, if I really want to achieve that goal, then I have to find the time within my schedule to do the hard work of reading up on the book, doing the programs, doing the hands-on stuff, building a particular project and things like that. So how can you go about doing that? How can you ensure that you find the time within your schedule to be able to do that? For that, there is a technique which is called if-then planning. All right. So it's a very simple technique. All you have to do is you have to think about time that you have, and then you say, okay, if it is 3 p.m. and by then I have not written this report, or I have not done this, made these calls, or I have not read about this particular thing, then I will immediately do this, right? So, and again, this is a little bit of mental magic, I would say, in a way, because our mind is kind of programmed to once you give it this kind of an instruction, this is similar to this thing, and I'm sure you can try it out today. Like when you go to bed, just tell yourself that you will wake up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Just say that to yourself before you go to sleep, and I'll guarantee you will wake up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. How this works, I guess there is some science and research to it, but to me, in a way, it's magic, but it works, right? So similarly, this if-then planning also, once you give these instructions to your brain, then subconsciously your brain will start scanning the environment, and whenever that if part of the plan happens, then automatically it will trigger you to, and it will remind you to do the Y part of it. So if X, then Y, right? So if I haven't written this report before lunch, then I will make it the first thing I do when I return. So, when I have my lunch and then I come back, then immediately my brain will automatically remind me to do that Y task. Of course, just getting a reminder, you can set up a reminder even in your Outlook or any of your phone and things like that. But of course, once the reminder comes, then you have to act on it. And again, there are other strategies for acting on it. Okay, so the second strategy is to actually seize the moment to act on your goals, and it's to find the time to be able to act on your goals. So setting a goal, then you have to find the time to work on that particular goal. And there is a technique also which you can use, and that is the if-then planning technique. Okay, so when you talk about implementation, identify a critical action that you need to take to reach your goal. Think about when and where you should take this action. Think about what critical situation is when you should take this action. Again, see, we do a lot of list-based planning, right? In the morning, we wake up and we write down a list. We say, okay, I need to do A, B, C, D, E, F. One way of ensuring that, that list gets worked upon, many times you set up the list and then in the evening you look, none of those items are ticked off, right? But a way of guaranteeing that those items are ticked off is doing something called time boxing, right? So time boxing is like setting up, going into your calendar or your schedule and then saying, I will do this particular task at this particular time. Set a meeting with yourself, right? Set an appointment with yourself and say that at this time I will do this particular task, right? That way you've set the time also for when you want to do that particular task you planned. And when you're doing that, of course, you will think about various things, right? You'll say, okay, will I be able to devote this time? Do I need to do something else? Things like that. And then you set the time, you will be able to then do that particular task. So that's called time boxing. And there is also this other aspect of it, which is like where you will do the task, right? I'm calling it space boxing, right? But you also need to think about at what time you will do it and where you will do it, right? So let's say going back to that, same old example of losing weight. So I have to get to the, I had to start doing my exercise at 5:30, and at 5:30 I will do it at the gym, right? So that is the place. So you have to bring both the time and the space or the location where you're going to do. If you think about both of those things, then there is a better chance of you completing that particular task. So coming back to the if then technique, so you think about the time and what action you should take. So then you can put it together as an if, when this thing particular happens, then I will do this. So if it is 6:30 p.m., then I will go to the gym. All right, so that's one example. Now think about an obstacle that might prevent you from doing that action. All right, this could be like a temptation, distraction, or like in my case, sheer laziness. Okay, so when that thing comes, what do? Again, you apply the if-then technique. So if I feel lazy and I don't want to step out, then I'll call my friend and ask him to convince me to go to the gym. Or, I will look at, the picture of Usain Bolt and I will feel inspired by that. And then I will go to the gym. So then again, it's again setting that if then action. So you can decide, like, what is the action to be done, when it should be done, and then use the if then technique to motivate yourself. And then of course, when obstacles or anything come and they prevent you from doing what you need to be doing, at that time also you could do the if then, you could use the if then technique, and motivate yourself to do the particular action. Okay, I think I missed a particular poll, but anyway, let's just, okay, this is the implementation part. So before we go into this slide, maybe we can have the next poll, and this would be about the goals, right?
Yeah, it is on the screen now.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
So everyone in the call can participate in this poll.
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of even money between goals should be specific and difficult. And many people believe that a goal should be time bound. I think more people believe that a goal should be time bound. Yes, time dimension is one aspect of it, but also the other aspects of what will let you know that a particular goal has been achieved or not. How will you know that? So that is why it also needs to be a bit specific. And of course, the goals have to be challenging for them to motivate you, which is why it should be specific and difficult. Okay, I think that's great. We can now move on to the next one. Yes, easy and simple. Yes, that's goals. Many times we feel that they should be easy and simple, but contrary to belief, it's the more difficult ones which motivate us and give us a better sense of satisfaction. Okay, alrighty. Okay, so let's stop sharing the results, and now we'll go on to, okay, so the next strategy is about monitoring your progress. Okay, how do we monitor our progress? How do we know whether we have achieved what we want to achieve? So we need to assess, and why do we need to monitor? Okay, again, this is brain magic. Okay, so here whenever the brain sees that there is a discrepancy between where we are and where we want to be, then it automatically reacts by throwing resources at that discrepancy. So be it your attention, be it effort, be it more processing of the information or strengthening of your willpower, all these things will happen when you see that there is a difference between where you are and where you want to be. Okay, and that happens when you are assessing, right? And many of us who are in the IT industry and who have been on projects, we know monitoring our progress is very important. And we know that we have our weekly calls, status calls, and all those, where we talk about the status of the project, where we are, what are the things that we wanted to achieve, and whether we have achieved them or not, and things like that. So even for our own personal tasks, we do need to do things like that. So how often do we need to assess now? Like, again, on even on projects, sometimes you have very large projects where we might have an assessment once a month. There might be other short-term projects where we might do it once a week. Sometimes you might be in a crisis mode in the project. There you might have a status call every day, right, to assess where you are and what actions need to be taken and things like that. So it depends. So how often to assess is, there's no standard thumb rule or something, but it depends upon your goal and whether it is long term, short term, and things like that. You have to identify what is the right frequency for you. And sometimes assessments, like we've seen that, okay, your brain sees this discrepancy and it motivates you to do certain things. But now at times an assessment can also be something which was detrimental to achieving your goal. And these are cases where, like, let's say you have not learnt enough about a particular topic, it's something difficult, and then you go and you assess yourself, and then you see that you have not reached where you're supposed to be, and that may create stress and anxiety, which will then interfere with your learning and performance. So you should be careful about that as well. In some cases, it may be too early to do an assessment, right? So especially when you are in the learning mode where you are trying to pick up certain skills and things like that, at those times you have to defer the assessment until a point where you have got some mastery of that particular area, and then you're able to do an assessment. Okay. And how do you assess? How is the assessment actually to be done, and how you should be thinking about the goal, whatever you have achieved? So in this case, what the researchers say is that instead of focusing on what you have accomplished, you have to focus on what more you have to accomplish. For instance, let's say you're a marathon runner and you're running. So you can either choose to think about the number of miles ahead of you or the number of miles that you have completed, right? And going back to the same old hackneyed example of losing weight, if you have lost some weight, you can think about the weight that you have lost or the weight that you still need to lose to achieve your goal. And what research says is that if you focus on how far you have to go rather than what you have already achieved, then you will still maintain the motivation and you will be able to achieve that particular goal. If you focus on what you have done, you might, there might be a premature celebration. You might think that, hey, I've already achieved so much, and that might lead to dilution of your motivation, and you might miss out on achieving that particular goal. So always when you assess, focus on what more is remaining and what are all the other tasks that need to be done. So now, how do we implement this specific strategy? All right, decide, take any specific goal, decide on how often you should be assessing the progress, right? Find out from where the information you need to assess your progress will come from. Sometimes we are not the best people to assess our progress, right? Sometimes a neutral, objective third party needs to do that, right? So be practical about it, be realistic, be honest with yourself. Sometimes you can do the assessment yourself, or sometimes you might have to ask your friend or family or somebody else to do the assessment for you. So identify that source for your assessment. Okay. Then create your reminders to assess yourself, your calendar, post-its, whatever you need, create those reminders. And then to keep yourself motivated, like I mentioned earlier, think about what still needs to be done and to reach your goal rather than what you have already completed. So these are the different steps to actually implement this thing about how to manage your progress, right? So a quick poll here about what we have just touched upon. This is not going to be too difficult. Yeah. Just a quick review of what we just spoke about. Alrighty. So looks like a lot of people have imbibed that message, and I hope you will try this, right? I'm sure we all have various goals and tasks that we want to achieve. So the next time you do your assessment, focus on what more needs to be done, and you will see the difference. Okay. So we shall, I think, let's end the polling here. Okay. Okay, here are the results. Okay. 88% think that about what more is to be completed. Great. Okay. So let's get on with the next strategy. Be a realistic optimist. Okay. So now here, if you see, like, whenever we talk about goals, whenever we talk about success and everything, I think this is one thing everybody says: be positive, be optimistic. you should have a positive outlook. Don't be a pessimist. Only then you will be able to achieve your goals, and they are 100% on the money. Yes, that is the way to succeed. There's a lot of research which shows that your belief in your success will lead to success. That is the biggest predictor of whether you will succeed or not. But you have to be realistic, right? You have to be realistic. You have to think and understand that the road to success is difficult. If you think that I will succeed and it is easy to succeed, then you're bound for failure. But if you think I will succeed, the road is going to be difficult, I'm going to have issues and things like that, but I will overcome them and I will succeed, then your chances of succeeding are much, much more than if you think that the path to success is going to be easy. Again, this is common sense, right? We know that success is not something which is easy to come by. Otherwise, every one of us would be maybe Bill Gates and Bezos and all these people, right? But it is difficult. It is difficult. There are various obstacles and things like that that need to be overcome, and you should be able to, be realistic about your goals, and only then you will find the motivation and the persistence to be able to achieve that particular goal. So to succeed, you need to actually visualize the steps that you need to succeed. And when you visualize those steps, at that time, you also have to think about what will be the obstacles, right? Many times when we are, writing programs and things like that, we write the program thinking about what is called the happy path, right? That, we want to, let's say we want to, again, maybe maybe this example may not sit well with people who are non-IT and things like that, but let's say you want to read a particular file. So then you expect that that particular file is there at that particular location, right? So, and then you write your program. But what happens if the file is not there? Then your program is going to fail, right? So if the file is not there, your program will bomb, and it will not give the results that you want. So you have to think and say, okay, if the file is not there, then what should my program do? Maybe my program gives a message saying that, oh, we could not find the file in this particular location. Kindly put this file. Then I will be able to read it, and then I will be able to give you whatever result you want. So that kind of thinking needs to happen. You have to, think about exceptions. We have to think about the obstacles that will appear, the setbacks that can happen. Okay, we are on a diet, and this beautiful, lovely cake is there, in front of you with delicious frosting and everything. And, and like one small slice of it will give you cholesterol for years to come. And, and that is there between you and your weight loss program. Okay, how are you going to handle that? Okay, to do that, again, you have to have your if-then kind of planning, right? If somebody comes up with this delightful cake in front of me, then I shall, move away from there, or I will look at something else, or I will just take one small bit and stop at that. Some alternative you have to think and plan for. Okay, so how do we, implement this particular part about being a realistic optimist, right? So of course we learned that you have to believe that you will be able to achieve a particular goal. And of course there are some goals which we set for ourselves which we definitely believe that we will achieve, right? But there might be some other tasks and goals which somebody else sets for you, and you might not think that you will be able to achieve that particular goal. In those cases, when you want to increase your confidence, start thinking of your past successes. You have done other things, right? You have done completed other tasks and things like that, where you have had success. Think of those and the goals that you have achieved and the obstacles that you have overcome. Right? Then, of course, like I mentioned, indulge in some if-then thinking, saying, if I feel jittery, then I will think about the time that I did a wonderful presentation. And this increased motivation, confidence will motivate you to act. And like I said, action is always the key to your success, right? So then always keep your optimism realistic. Think about the obstacles and setbacks that you will have to face. and visualize how you will overcome these obstacles and develop realistic plans. Okay, so again, look at some of the tasks that you're going to do. See what are all the different steps that you need to take. See what will prevent you from taking those steps, and visualize how you will overcome that. All right, so be aware of the obstacles, and you will be confident of overcoming them and attaining your goals, and you won't get blindsided by them. Like, many times we jump into a particular goal, we want to do it, and then suddenly we see all the different tasks that need to be done, and then we say, oh my god, now how will I do this, right? How will I achieve this particular task or not, right? But if you think ahead and you understand what are all the different excuse me, what are all the different obstacles that can come up, you will be able to handle them. Okay, how are we doing on time? Am I too slow?
We are good. Right now it's 9:30. Still have plenty of time.
Okay, okay, great. All right, thank you. Um, so no, again, so we spoke about all these different techniques, right? Related to goals. We spoke about how to set a goal. We spoke about finding the time. We about how to motivate ourselves and how to be a realistic optimist. Now we will look at some of these strategies which are more focused on your mindset. Okay, as to what is the kind of mindset you should be having to be able to achieve these goals, right? So there are two different mindsets basically when we think about some tasks. So one mindset is like the be good mindset, and the other is the getting better mindset. Okay, so let's say when you take on a particular task, and you think that you will be able to do it, you will come out in flying colors, people are going to appreciate you, and it is well within your particular capabilities, and you think that if you take on the task, you must succeed at it, right? Failure is not an option, and that you want to look good, and if you fail at the task, it's going to be a disaster and things like that. And because of that, you choose only certain tasks where you will succeed based on your capabilities, right? If somebody comes up with a task or which you think is beyond your capabilities, you will not take that, right? So that is one mindset. The other mindset is like, you think that your capabilities are not fixed. All right, your capabilities are malleable, meaning that you can increase your skills, you can learn something new, and you will be able to achieve. So maybe today there is a specific task which you are not able to do because you lack certain skills, but you know that you can go and you can find certain uh, you can learn something new, you can read a book, you can attend a course, you can talk to a friend, you can get that information, and you will be able to do that particular task, right? So so when you are setting a goal, you have to have the mindset of getting better, right, rather than just being good. So with a getting better mindset, what will happen is you will take on bigger challenges. You will take on goals that will really take you someplace. Otherwise, you will always be playing within your comfort zone, and that may not be enough for you to succeed or to achieve something big. So with this, so you have to think about, when a specific task is given to you, what do you feel about that particular task, and is it creating any anxiety within you? Why are you feeling that anxiety? What is the thing that is preventing you from taking on a particular task? And then you have to check and see if you can adopt a get better mindset, and learn adopt learning strategies and things like that that you need to be able to succeed in that particular task. So how do we implement this? So again, when a project is difficult, give yourself the permission to make mistakes, right? Say, it's fine if I fail at this. It's like, for instance, somebody comes up to me and like as a part of my innovation, this thing, there is always something new that people are talking about, and I always don't know about all of those. So then I have to tell people, sorry, I don't know this. If my boss comes and tells me like, hey, let's develop this particular thing in this particular area, there are times when I have to tell him, no, I'm sorry, I do not know this. I have to learn this. Or I may take on a particular task and I will say that, look, I don't have the knowledge or the skills, or the team does not have the resources and the skills to be able to do this particular task. So we will have to go through a particular learning phase. We might fail initially, but once we have picked up the knowledge and things like that, then we will succeed. Right? So you have to give yourself the permission to make mistakes. Right? And like I said, you won't know everything there is to know, and you don't need to know everything, right? You can learn. When you find that you don't know something, approach the experts, learn from them, acknowledge your ignorance, asking for help. And when you ask for help, it will make people think more of you for it and not less. Many of us think that, and this happens especially when we are, when we are beginning our careers, or even when we are in the middle part of our careers, we think that asking somebody for help or acknowledging our lack of knowledge or something means people will think less of us. No, not really. And of course, you have to, many people will not believe this because you are at that particular age. But as you grow older and you grow mature, you will understand that, you cannot do everything on your own. You need people who know more than you to be able to support you, and you have to learn to work with them, and you have to learn to be able to acknowledge your own ignorance and ask people for help and things like that, right? Then don't compare yourself and your current performance to others. As a parent, this happens every day at my home. Oh, so and so's son is doing like this, you are not doing this. Or so and so's daughter, she has done so well, see, aren't you doing this? No, not really. You shouldn't do that to others, and neither should you do it to yourself, right? Don't compare yourself with Bill Gates and say, oh, Bill Gates is there and I'm only here, so what is this? No. Compare yourself to your own past performance. See what you did on the previous project. See what you did on the previous task. Are you improving? That is what matters. And that is how you can move forward, right? If you compare yourself against Bill Gates, maybe that difference is going to be too vast, and that is going to be demotivating, right? But if you thought about the previous project that you did, and the mistakes that you did there, and what you have learned and where you have reached now, that could be motivating for you to learn even more and do even more better, right, on your current task, right? So with this get better mindset, you approach the task in a humble manner, and you look upon each task as a learning opportunity. And this way you will not turn down those opportunities which initially look difficult, right, but could help you achieve a lot even in your career, in your life, and things like that, right? So always, whenever a particular task is given, think about that task, see what skills you have at the moment and what you can achieve, what you can learn, right? Many times, there are opportunities which come up and people say, can you do this? Not yet. I can't do it at the moment, but maybe a week from now, maybe a month from now, I can do it. And often it is possible to get that 1 month, right? Often, like for instance, like 3 months ago, I wanted to start learning Go. And if I had spent, even 15 minutes every day, today I would be at a certain level, right? And even now, I don't have any necessity to use that particular language, right? And but I still had 3 months to do some learning and things like that. But at that particular point in time, I thought, oh, I don't have enough time to devote to this. There is so many things to be done, and I can't do this, I can't do that, and hence I'm not going to do this particular task. So know that there is time available, and you can learn and you can improve. Sometimes it is a matter of negotiating with people to say that, look, I need some extra time to be able to do it. And when you do that and you do a good job of it, people will be more appreciative rather than you taking on a particular task and without, giving them upfront, information that you are not capable of doing it, or outright denying or refusing to do a particular task. All right. So let's see if we have any polls here. Yes, we have a poll here. And can we bring on that poll?
Feroz bhai, I think Shahenshah bhai has left. He said
Oh,
he will
okay.
do the polls, so we are in a quandary. We didn't
Okay.
take that.
Okay.
He had to
Never
leave.
mind. Fine.
Is it poll number 6? Poll number 4?
Uh,
What is the question?
it's the right mindset for
Okay,
success.
okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on now.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Good. People are picking up. Very good. Okay. I think that's great. Okay. Yeah. So 89% of the people believe that you will succeed. That you have to have the belief that you will succeed. Oops, sorry. I made a mistake there. So believe that you will succeed and there will be obstacles to be surmounted. And some people believe that you have to have the belief in success and that it's easy to succeed. Like I said, there will be obstacles and we should be aware of them. Otherwise, these obstacles can demotivate us. And having a clear goal is sufficient? No, it is not sufficient. You do need to have also a vision for how to achieve that particular goal. What would be the obstacles in achieving that goal? All right. Okay, great. Thank you. So moving on to the next strategy, have grit. Okay. Now, grit is that willingness to commit to long-term goals and to persist in the face of setbacks. Okay. So you need to be like, many times goals take time to come to fruition, right? Sometimes it takes months, sometimes it takes years. So you should be able to commit to those goals and you should be able to persist in the face of setbacks. Or sometimes when you're going through a particular, when you're trying to achieve a certain goal, suddenly something new might come up which you have totally not foreseen, right? And and then at that particular point in time you might realize that, oh, I don't have the specific skills that I need to be able to manage this particular task or complete this particular task. So how do you handle that, right? So to be able to handle that, you actually need to one second, I'm sorry. So to be able to handle that, you actually need to think in terms of your abilities, which are not just fixed. Okay, and this is something which we spoke about earlier also, right? We like when we think about some of the tasks that we need to do, we think in terms of what capabilities we have right now, and we are not thinking in terms of the capabilities that we can acquire, right? So like then how do we actually handle this particular particular issue, right? So people who think about fixed abilities, they are what we call as the entity theorists. Okay, so whenever they are faced with a particular difficulty or something, then they think that they don't have the capabilities to be able to do it. And when they face a particular issue or something like that, then they say like, what do they blame what do they really blame? They blame actually the lack of abilities. And because they think that they don't have the ability, then they give up on that particular task. Okay. And of course, sometimes people who have this fixed ability thinking, when they some improvement happens on their side, they are actually filled with anxiety also, because they think that they cannot improve, and if improvement happens, then that itself fills them with anxiety. Then there are the other set of people who are the incremental theorists, right? These people have what is called a growth mindset. So whenever they face some issues, or when they are faced with a difficulty, they will blame all those setbacks on certain factors which they can control or which others can control, such as maybe lack of effort, or using the incorrect strategy, or there is some poor planning. And these people, whenever they face some issues or anything, then they will respond with, trying to increase their ability. They will try to make changes in how they approach that particular task. They will try and plan better, and all these will actually lead to success. So like I said, having grit is being able to commit to a particular task and keep at it, right? And what will determine, and many times what happens is, when you think you lack the ability and you're not able to do a particular task, then you will give up, right? And that usually comes from this mentality of a fixed ability. You think that, you don't have the ability, and you won't be able to get the ability, so then I won't be able to complete this task, so what should I do now? I might as well give up, right? But if you have the mentality of the growth mindset, then when you are faced with a difficulty or a problem, you think that, no, I will be able to get the resources, I will be able to learn better, or I'll be able to plan better, or I will be able to get additional resources to be able to resolve this particular problem. And you will stick to it, and you will be able to complete that particular task. So having grit is about continuing in the face of obstacles, and to be able to continue in the face of obstacles, it is good to have a growth mindset. So how do we implement this particular aspect, right? Sorry. Okay, so here we have, um, think about some of the aspects of your job that you feel you're not good at. Then take a moment to think about that. Deep down, do you believe that you can become good at them, or do you think you will remain as you are, right? If you're thinking that you cannot become good at them, and that you're stuck at that level, that is wrong, right? You can, improvement is always possible. And whenever you have the thinking that, no, I don't have the capabilities, or this is beyond me, don't challenge the thinking. Challenge the thinking. Don't succumb to it. Focus on improving and developing your skills. And once you do that, you will be, you will become grittier in your pursuit of your goals. Like I said, you will be able to stick to your goals. You will not give up, because you know that you will be able to pick up the skills, or you'll be able to get the resources to be able to resolve that particular problem or issue or anything that you're facing. Okay. Um, okay. So now, okay. So we have one more poll, and this would be the fifth one, right? And this is a very short, quick poll. And again, it's just to, kind of review what we spoke about, right? Can we have that poll? Yes. Great. Okay. So a huge percentage of people believe that their abilities are not fixed, and they can do anything by, you know, training, through learning, adopting learning strategies and things like that. It's great. Okay, wonderful. So maybe we can end the poll. We can share the results. There we go. 85% of people disagree that your abilities are fixed. And that is the right mindset to have, to be able to achieve your goals. Okay. Alrighty. So let's move on. So grit, This is the ability to stick to a particular task. So next, we will talk about willpower, right? So this is something everyone talks about and says is critical to success. Um, and many people think that you either have it or you don't, right? But is that true? Okay. So let's see what we have in the next slide. Okay. So the Cambridge Dictionary defines this as the ability to control your own thoughts and the way in which you behave, right? So another definition is that it is the control exerted to do something or restrain impulses. Okay. Willpower is important. Why is it important? Because it is important to resist temptation. So whenever you are on your journey to achieve your particular goal, there will be so many distractions, there will be so many temptations. You need to be able to avoid them. You need to be able to, ignore them, and then continue moving forward, right? So like I said, the lovely cake, which can be a temptation, which is going to move you away from your goal of weight loss. Or let us say you have to sit and study for a particular exam, and there is a cricket match on the TV, or there is a lovely song which is playing on the radio, and you want to listen to that, or you want to watch the cricket match rather than put in the time to prepare for an upcoming exam. These are all different distractions, and we know it, our parents know it, and everybody else who talks to us about success knows it. The secret to all this is willpower or self-control, to be able to direct your attention and your activities towards the goal which you want to achieve rather than the distraction. Unfortunately, many people think that willpower is not a characteristic that you're born with. Willpower is a characteristic that you're born with, right? But it can be developed. Research shows that it can be developed and it can be improved. Um, President Obama, he is well, when we think of him, does he have willpower? Is he a person with self-control? Of course, he has self-control. Of course, he has willpower. He is a man who rose from very humble beginnings to become the first black president of the USA. Okay, if he lacked willpower and self-control, would he have been able to do this? No, he definitely had it, but there was one habit which he was having a problem in kicking. He used to smoke cigarettes, right? And in many of his interviews, when he was asked about whether he quit smoking or not, he would use humor and things like that, and maybe deflect the question, or say something which kind of indicated that he still hadn't gotten over that particular issue of that particular habit of smoking cigarettes, right? There is a lot of research, smoking cigarettes is bad, it's this, it's that, everything, but still there is an issue of people not being able to give up cigarettes. President Obama couldn't do it, though he was there. He has great willpower and everything. So what did that indicate? So actually, research indicates that willpower is kind of like like fuel in your car. After you run for a certain while, the fuel gets depleted and your vehicle will stop. Okay, so and it's also like a muscle also, right? Your muscle is strong. If you keep lifting some weights and things like that, after some time your muscles will get tired, right? Then when you need to take another new weight, your muscle may not be able to do that particular task, right? And the same thing happens with willpower, right? You exercise your willpower. Let's say in the morning there is something which needed to be done. You exercise some willpower to handle that. And later on, there was some other task that some other obstruction or something came up. Then you exerted some more willpower to overcome that. And then later in the evening, you're tired and you've depleted your store of willpower. And then you now have to go for exercising. And then you're not able to summon up enough willpower to be able to go and do that particular task because your willpower got depleted, right? So it is not like you have willpower all the time. It is like any other resource which gets depleted with use. but also like a muscle, or like, you can refuel your car. Similarly, willpower can be restored after a period of rest. So there are different ways in which you can, restore your willpower and manage this resource that you have, so that you can ensure that you are achieving your tasks. So let's take a look at how we can implement, this knowledge about willpower being a muscle, and how we can build that willpower.
Feroz bhai,
Yeah.
we are running a little bit short of time.
Okay. All right. Okay. I will. How many more minutes do we have?
Actually, we have as scheduled 8 minutes to completion, but if you can finish within that, we'll take as many questions as we can.
Sure. Sure. I will do that. Okay. So, okay. Willpower, like a muscle, it gets it becomes weak. So then, if you give it a certain period of rest, then you can actually, it will, the power will come back and you'll be able to resist. So give yourself a little bit of rest before tackling a new self-control challenge, right? And then you can speed up the recovery of willpower by doing something which will lift your spirits, like, rewarding yourself for good behavior, or just even by just thinking of someone who has lots of self-control, right? For instance, let's say you think about President Obama, with all the self-control that he had, that itself could make you recover your willpower. In fact, the next time when you face some issues of willpower, and where you're struggling to do a particular task, at that time, try and think of some of these inspirational characters, people who have overcome odds to achieve great things in life. Think about inspiring leaders, and those thoughts itself will help your willpower come back, and you will be able to go and do that particular task which you were shying away from. Okay. So the willpower is also like a muscle, will grow with exercise. So before you take on any task which needs a lot of willpower, you can do some less strenuous tasks, right? So do certain willpower challenges which are a little less in magnitude, like, okay, making up your bed, sitting up straight, maybe taking the stairs instead of the elevator. And then once you build from there, these small little things will build up your willpower, and then you can take on the gigantic task, which is around the corner. Okay. So this is how you can build your willpower muscle. Then, now, we have looked at motivating ourselves, we're setting up goals, we've looked at things like building a willpower and things like that. But all this will also need to be supplemented by certain things within the environment as well. Okay. So don't literally tempt fate, right? Don't put yourself into a situation where you will face a lot of all these temptations and distractions and things like that. For instance, like, let's say if you have your phone right next to you're working, and on your desk you have your phone, and the phone is constantly being interrupted, you're receiving WhatsApp messages and things like that. That is an interruption which you have to constantly face, right? If you keep that phone out there, if maybe you put your phone on the silent mode and take it and put it in another room, then you won't face that particular distraction, right? And then you don't have to spend willpower or any of those things to handle that particular task, right? And again, when you so that is one way in which you can control the environment. And also, like, when you do certain setting some goals and things like that, do the things that are more like, pick goals which are a little challenging, which will make it more interesting for you to do. Okay. And that way also, you will, when you're interested in doing something, when you'll feel more motivated to do that particular task. And that way, the effects or the requirements on your willpower will also be reduced. Okay. So try and control your environment. Don't tempt fate, right? So again, the way to implement this particular strategy is, like, when you're working on avoiding something, think about the situations that you'll be exposed to. Think about ways in which you can avoid those situations, right? Then So that's one way, and then the other thing is don't work on multiple goals at one time. Again, this is because your willpower is limited, right? If you set multiple big goals to achieve, and we do this all the time, right? We want to do X in the area of work. We want to do Y in the area in our, home. We want to do Z in, in some other arena. So when you have multiple goals, all these are going to create demands on your willpower. So by reducing the number of goals and making them manageable, then what the demands being placed on your willpower will also be less. Okay. And also avoid thinking you can just have just one or a little bit, right, of something you want and shouldn't have. Okay. And it's easier to completely avoid it rather than a little bit at a time. Again, this is to do with, the presence of things, availability of things in front of you, which are distracting and things like that. Right? Oh, I'll listen to just I'll just watch 5 minutes of that cricket match, or I will listen to only one song of this. And then finally you find that, you've spent an entire afternoon watching the cricket or listening to the songs and things like that. So it's better to avoid doing those things completely rather than doing it a little bit. Okay. Then now this is the final strategy, and this strategy talks about focusing on what you will do, not what you won't do. Okay. So when we need to achieve a goal, we need to stop doing something, right? Many times this happens, right? And in such cases, successful people, they will work on replacing that particular habit or activity with another habit or activity, a positive habit or activity, right? So this, and to do what we should be doing instead of what we love doing, we need to actually exercise some amount of willpower. Okay. Now, okay, so you see on the screen, it says, don't think of an orange, but let me tell you, don't think of an elephant. So how many of you didn't think of an elephant? I'm sure almost everyone thought about an elephant. You thought about a gray elephant or a black elephant. You thought about the elephant's ears and things like that. So that is what, so if you think about something, if you're about avoiding something and you still think about it, you will end up thinking about it and doing it, right? So there are three ways in which, you can avoid whenever you're faced with this kind of a situation, right? Where there is something you want to avoid or stop doing. There are three things you can do. One is you can ignore it, right? If this particular situation happens or something, I will ignore it. The second thing is not to do it, right? So say, okay, if this particular cricket match comes on, I will not do it, right? And the third one is to actually replace that habit with something else, an alternative. All right. Like for instance, in the case of smoking, then they say, okay, if I am tempted to smoke, then I shall do something else, right? Some other activity. Or if I'm tempted to eat something, then, I will have some couple of nuts or something. It's an alternate activity that can be done. And research shows that doing this alternative activity leads to success, right? The ignoring and avoidance, these two techniques will not help you, right? So whenever you want to do something, whenever you want to, stop doing some activity or break a particular habit, replace it with something else. Okay. And that will ensure that you are able to do this. You are able to, avoid doing that particular activity and succeed at whatever you plan to do. So how do you implement this? So when your goal has to do with stopping something, then replace that with another kind of an activity, right? So reframe that. Instead of thinking in terms of not, like for instance, here we are saying overeating or overworking, instead of thinking in terms of not overeating, not overworking, not staying up so late, not being so defensive, think of a way to reframe this goal in terms of doing something else. If you say, like for instance, when my wife and I leave home and we have our children at home, we say, hey, don't fight. That's enough. You just say don't fight, they will definitely fight, right? Instead of that, maybe what we have to talk about is another replacement behavior, not the avoidance behavior. We have to say, be kind with each other, share your toys, or do this, do that. Again, by the way, my children are not at that age. They are pretty big by themselves now, but I'm giving it just giving an example. So don't reinforce the behaviors that they should be avoiding, right? Instead, provide alternatives, right? So say, instead of saying overeating, maybe we have to think about eating healthy, right? Not overworking. Maybe we need to focus on having a balanced work-life balance, right? Not staying up late. Maybe you should have to think positively in terms of getting sleep, more sleep, or getting into a healthy sleep habit, things like that. So once you have decided on the good behavior that you will replace the undesirable behavior, then you make this thing if then plan. You say, if I feel the urge to do this, then I will do that instead. Okay. So these are the different nine different strategies, and just to bring them back into the context of your journey, right? Um, we said that your journey to achieve a particular goal is to set the goal, put together a plan, execute the plan, monitor what you know where you are, and then of course achieve the goal. So here we learned about the nine different strategies. So get specific about your goals, focus on getting better than being good. These are all to do with setting your goals, putting together a plan, be a realistic optimist, right? Think about the obstacles and things like that you will face. Don't be too optimistic. Be a realistic optimist, and then of course focus on what you will do and not what you won't do, right? So when you plan, these are some of the strategies that will help within your planning. Executing the plan, so you need to find the time to execute your do the tasks. So you seize the moment to act on your goals. You will have issues, you will face issues, you need to stick to your particular plan, you need to continue, you need to overcome obstacles for which you need to have grit. Willpower is also required to execute your plan. You need to do the tasks, right? And then of course you need to also control your environment by not tempting fate and becoming a victim of this of the demands on your willpower and things like that. And as far as monitoring goes, no, look at how far you have left to go rather than how much you have already achieved. Okay, so that is that is these nine different strategies that I wanted to talk to you about. And that here is a little summary slide, okay, about all the different nine strategies that we spoke about. And we can get on to the QA.
Thank you very much, Feroz bhai. That was a very illuminating talk. You went through the whole process, and I don't think I need to summarize because you summarized it very well. I don't think I can do a better job. So perhaps we can take one or two questions very quickly. I know that we have gone beyond time, and I did not want to stop your flow. You are doing such a very good job that I was learning a lot of things. So I didn't want to stop you. As some people have requested you to go back to the summary slide so that they can take a look at it. While you go back to the previous slide, here are some questions that have been posed. One question is by Khalid Siddiqui Saab, how do we keep ourselves motivated all the time? I mean, all the ingredients are there, but how do we keep the motivation is missing, and keeping it all the time is rather difficult.
True. I think that is a very realistic approach, right? You will not be motivated all the time. You have to work at it, right? And so that is where it's like the goals that you set for yourself, they also need to be motivating. You have to look at why you want to achieve a particular goal, right? So if you focus on why you want to achieve a particular goal, that will give you the reasons, that will give you the motivation for achieving that the specific goal, right?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good response. Okay, I hope brother has noted it down. The next question we have is from Rashid Ansari Saab, and he has also an interesting take. Some say you should have a backup plan. Others do not believe on backup plans because it could dilute our focus. What do you think?
Definitely, you should have a backup plan. Definitely, you have to have a backup plan. Alternates you should have. To me, I think because see, you don't know what you don't know, right? And if you don't have certain, and again, even sometimes even backup plans may not be able to handle some of the situations because you've not thought about such an event which happens. But at least for in cases where you can think about some alternate situations and things like that, you should definitely have a backup plan. And this is where you need to have very good imagination, and this is where people with a lot of experience will be helpful, right? And many times when you are taking on a task which is unknown, where the path ahead or the activities that you need to do and all are not clear, you should definitely have a backup plan. So, some leaders have this habit of, they say, okay, it's like, I move forward, I burn the bridge behind me, right? And that will keep the motivation of my team to keep moving forward and forward. But are you, you can do that, right? People will not be able to go back if you burn the bridges behind you. But are you headed in the right direction? Are you pausing to say, no, maybe I'm not in the right path here, I need to go back and then take another fork in the road which was behind me? To be able to do that, I think you do need to have backup plans and things like that.
Okay, here's a question from Irfan Meghani Saab. I think it's okay to fail. Fail early and learn. What do you think? I think he's talking of agility.
Yep. Fail fast. Fail fast is one of the ways in which you quickly learn. And again, this is also true when you are in a particular situation about which you don't know much, right? Of course, if it is something which is very well known and established and things like that, there, if you fail, then it will be a reflection on your capabilities. But in some other cases, it is better to fail fast and then move on, learn from the failure, and then start building on it.
Okay.
It's
Here's
also
an,
with
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
action, taking action. Many times, there is this thing called analysis paralysis, right? You keep analyzing the situation, thinking about it, thinking on and on about it, and you don't really take any action, right? So it's better to take an action, better to fail fast, learn from it, and then move forward.
Okay, here's a very ambitious, I suppose, young man, Muhammad Rayyan Ahmad. His question is, what does it take to reach the top 1%? And he is asking you to ignore hard work because he knows that he has to do. Besides that, if you were to choose one thing.
Come again, I'm sorry.
The question is, leaving hard work aside, what is the one thing that requires you to reach that is required for you to reach the top 1%?
I don't believe there is one thing or three things or even nine things that will help you succeed. There's a whole host of things. There are so many different things that that will come together to help you succeed, and it varies from person to person also, right? See, these are all different strategies and techniques that they have some scientific basis and all those, but again, how you apply it, how it how the results that you get from it will change from each person, to what goals you apply these, everything. It's very fluid, it's very difficult to say. And if somebody says that yes, this is the way to do it, I really wouldn't believe it. You have to set your goals, and again, like I said, have a proper process for setting goals. And also, I think if you are a young person, this is the time to sit and think about what you really want to achieve. And again, goals are also, they are also dynamic, right? what goals you set today, it's like when you're a kid, you're saying, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a pilot. Or, but maybe next year you're going to say, I'm going to be a train driver, or I want to be a ship's captain or something. And then finally you come up with, some other goals and things like that, right? So similarly, even if you're a grown adult and you set certain goals, those goals may also evolve, right? As you grow, as you pick up more information and things like that. So it is an evolutionary kind of a process. You have to think deeply about where you want to be. It is, it is like we have the dunya, we have the akhirah. All these things come together. You have to think deeply about all these things and then decide what you want to do for yourself, and then embark upon that journey with full sincerity. And along the way, you will, you have to have this mentality that I will learn. What I don't know today, I will learn tomorrow. And you have to sincerely apply yourself, and then you will be able to achieve your goals.
Okay. And
I don't
one
know
last
what the
question.
answer he was looking for, but
Yeah. One last question and then we can close. This one is about course correction. Parvez Khan, he asks, when do you know that you have set a wrong goal? What are the cons of setting goals? Um, Basically, any flags that will tell you, oops, you're on the wrong track.
I think it's only like I, I feel it is only when you do, again, deep thinking. It's like that particular exercise that I spoke about, where, Stephen Covey talks about imagining your funeral, right? So it is those kind of things. When you think about these goals, only then you will realize whether it is the right goal or the wrong goal, right? It like, see, you want to become Bill Gates. Is that a good goal or a bad goal? How I mean, when will you know what it is, right? Either you have achieved that particular goal and then suddenly you realize that, oh, this is not all that it was cracked up to be, right? I don't find satisfaction in what in achieving this particular goal. So you have to constantly, I think, at every point that you assess, you have to think about the goal as well. Maybe one part of the assessment has to be, is this the right goal? Am I satisfied with what I am achieving? Will I be happy if once I achieve this particular goal? And is it in line with my true goals, right? I think those are the thoughts that will help you understand whether you are headed on the right path or not. You are your own, like, you are the barometer, you are the thermometer for that particular goal, right? You have to think and say how you feel about it, right? So somebody says that, look, I want my life to be spent in a path where it's useful to others, right? Somebody might be saying, no, my path is to make money for myself, right? So how do you know whether which goal is right? The individual has to look at that and then say, okay, I followed this path, am I happy? Have I achieved what I want to achieve? Do I have true satisfaction? And then decide whether that goal is right for them or not.
Okay, thank you very much, Feroz Bhai. We will close here. We will. I'll request Kashif Bhai to do the closing for us. Kashif Bhai, over to you.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair, Khalil bhai. I'd like to thank our today's speaker, Mr. Feroze Arif, for delivering excellent talk on strategic first aid setting goals. MashaAllah, he briefly explained in a sequential steps of your journey, setting a specific goal, how to plan, how to execute that plan, monitor, achieve your goal, all the things with funny examples like losing weight, how to and all, and in between interesting polls also. Jazakallah khair, sir, for accepting our invitation. Alhamdulillah, it's your second talk with AMP. I would like to thank all the participants who had participated and make use of the talk today. Jazakallah khair, one and all.